Hello and welcome to episode 202 of our SAP on Azure Video Podcast. Today is July 31st, and together with Robert and Goran, we are here to talk about anything related to SAP and Microsoft. Hello, everyone.
Hi.
So in our last episode, we talked about the native integration of Microsoft Copilot in SAP S/4HANA Cloud Public Edition and how SAP is shipping out-of-the-box content that customers can use right away. We had also talked about the SAP Joule and Microsoft Copilot integration that Christian Klein announced during Sapphire. Both of these scenarios are fantastic and help customers to immediately get started. However, we also know that customers often need very specific, very unique integrations, obviously also with Copilot. That's where you might want to develop your own scenarios with the Copilot SDK for Visual Studio Code, or even better, with Copilot Studio. Creating your own Copilot integration is easier than ever. To give us an overview of the different options how customers and partners can leverage Copilot in the context of SAP, I'm really glad to have Robert Hernandez with us today. Welcome, Robert, to our show. Before we dive into the topic, can you please introduce yourself?
Sure, absolutely. And first, let me say thank you for having me this week. I'm excited to finally make the SAP on Azure podcast here. So it's been a long wait, but that's all right. So yes, Robert Hernandez. I lead the engineering team here at Microsoft, focused on the SAP topic. And the way that I describe that to folks is I sort of wear two hats here at Microsoft. So the first hat is focused on SAP themselves. So when you think of RISE, SuccessFactors, BTP, any of the SAP solutions that run on Azure, I've got a team focused on working with SAP to deliver those solutions out to SAP's customers for those solutions. The other hat that I wear is I work with all the other product organizations within Microsoft, and I look at where are great opportunities to leverage Microsoft software plus SAP software to deliver outcomes for our customers that are greater than the individual tools. And so I work with my peers at other Microsoft organizations to say, hey, these are the functionalities that you should extend into your tool to create better outcomes for our joint customers. And certainly Copilot is one of those great opportunities to bring together Microsoft and SAP software together.
Absolutely. And actually, let me add two more things. First of all, you are my manager, which is good. And the other interesting thing is the three of us here, we are all ex-SAP. So all three of us also worked at SAP, and now we switched sides to work with Microsoft. I think that's actually something, if we look at our guests and participants here on the show, that's something that we see very, very often, that either we have Microsoft colleagues that joined SAP, or also SAP colleagues that joined Microsoft. So I think that also shows this close collaboration that we have between SAP and Microsoft.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you look at it across enterprise software, those are probably the two biggest companies working with customers in the enterprise software space. So there's a lot of overlap and touch points between the two, which I think leads to that natural sort of transition for folks.
Absolutely. Good. So you mentioned Copilot, that Copilot is also an important piece. And as mentioned in the intro, we had a lot of discussions around the different Copilot integrations. So can you kick us off? Can you show us a little or talk a little about what do we have? How does the Copilot integration with SAP look like?
Yeah, absolutely. And on the plus side, we have a lot of options for customers on utilizing Copilot with SAP. On the downside, we have a lot of options for customers on utilizing Copilot for SAP. So, one of the challenges is when you have a lot of options, understanding what is the right option for you, understanding what is the right option for your use case. So I thought maybe I know we want to focus today on creating your own Copilots with Copilot Studio. But I thought maybe before I do that, let's kind of take a big picture survey of the different options and what the use cases are, and then we can dive deep down into Copilot Studio, and then certainly I like showing software because the software kind of sells itself in this case. So I think it would be great to be able to show that directly. So, I mean, first off, when people think of utilizing AI with the SAP business process, I mean, certainly the number one approach that you think of naturally is utilizing SAP's Joule,
Mm-hmm.
right, to connect to SAP. That runs, on that can run on Microsoft, utilizing Microsoft LLMs. So I mean, certainly that's the initial place that a lot of customers go to. Now, the next level of that, when you think of getting to bringing Microsoft and SAP together, is not just kind of running Joule for your SAP, but utilizing Joule plus Microsoft Copilot. And what that allows you to do on top of utilizing Joule is that allows you to bring in the structured data from SAP plus the unstructured data from Microsoft to really give you a comprehensive view of your entire, the entirety of a business process or activity, bringing together status data out of SAP with conversational and communication data from Microsoft. And so that, I think you may have covered that on a previous episode. I think it was episode 200, if I'm not mistaken. But this was announced back at Sapphire by Scott Guthrie and Mohammed Alam. And I think you will see a lot more coming on that in the coming months as well. So
Absolutely.
That's kind of the first piece, is just utilizing SAP Joule, connecting it to Microsoft Copilot, and utilizing those two together to bring together the two pieces. Now, the other piece that I believe you talked about last week in episode 201 is kind of utilizing Copilot, Microsoft Copilot, and specifically you talked about, I believe, utilizing it with S4, but it does work with SuccessFactors, et cetera. So if you have the S4 public cloud version, I believe that just released last week. So now you can connect your S4 to Copilot for kind of standard scenarios. This also was announced back at Sapphire. And so that was announced, what is that, 2 months ago, and is now out and available for customers in sort of a restricted release right now.
So
And
Robert,
that's actually, sorry, go on, go ahead.
So that's all related to the business process integration, I believe, right?
Exactly, but it does bring together, so it does allow you to kind of utilize those SAP business processes within. So in this case, you see, connecting and interacting directly with SAP from within Teams and utilizing those components. So it does give you the opportunity to kind of ask questions of your Copilot and have it go out and retrieve answers for you out of the SAP system. And you can even take action on some of those pieces as well.
Now, I mean, for me, the cool thing with especially this integration was really how fast it was released. I mean, Jan Gilk talked about this at Sapphire, and then I would really say thanks to the cloud, thanks to the S/4HANA Public Cloud Edition, thanks to Copilot being available, obviously with M365, just 2 months later, this is available for customers. Yes, not GA yet, which totally makes sense. I mean, you first want to test this with customers, but it was really, really great to see the speed of innovations that both SAP and Microsoft they are brought to the table, and how quickly this was released and customers can now leverage it. So I thought that was really cool to see.
No, it is interesting. I mean, it seems like the pace of everything is increasing year over year, but I do think that's sort of one of the promises of AI, and you're actually seeing it realized here, is AI does allow you to innovate a little faster because of its flexibility and capabilities there. So I actually think you're going to see the pace of a lot of these innovations actually start to increase as we move forward as well.
Mm-hmm. And that actually brings me to another very important point. There is a lot of requests. There's a lot of innovations also at our customers. And obviously, the two scenarios that you talked about, they're all out-of-the-box solutions. This is what SAP ships. This is what SAP and Microsoft ships, which is fantastic. And I'm sure it will cover a lot of scenarios at customers. But as we said in the beginning, there are a lot of custom specific solutions that I as a customer that is unique to me. And then, yeah, how do we solve this problem?
Exactly right. So thank you for leading up and teeing up my next slide here. So the next option is for you as a customer or partner to develop and deploy a custom Copilot for SAP. And so as you pointed out, kind of the two left-hand scenarios, Copilot and Joule and Copilot with the S/4HANA public cloud. Those are really more designed for those standard SAP scenarios and solutions. But if you have, pardon me, a scenario that is perhaps not as out of the box, and or say you're not on S4 public cloud, you're on, a RISE private cloud deployment. Mm-hmm. And you want to start utilizing AI directly against your SAP system. So these are things that you could deploy today against your SAP system, whether it's RISE, whether it's what we call native, hosted here on Azure or what have you. These are things that you could deploy today against your SAP system while you're kind of waiting for some of those standard solutions to make their way from public cloud over to private cloud. So, this is kind of one of those things that you can deploy today, either because you don't quite meet the criteria yet for the left-hand side, or perhaps you have a scenario that you need to tweak what is available out of the box. You can tune for your own particular business process.
And I think you said this is what customers and partners can leverage. And I mean, what I found really interesting to see how many partners actually jumped on this and started to develop scenarios with their SAP background, with their knowledge on SAP business processes, how they picked up Copilot Studio. I mean, Copilot Studio is a low-code tool that allows you to create scenarios without really going deep into developing, without the need to know Python or whatever, but where you can really use this low-code approach where we have lots of connectors, including to SAP. And for me, that was really interesting to see the number of partners that really immediately leverage this to build and offer solutions for customers, where they now have a Copilot that can integrate with the SAP world.
Exactly right. And I think the key element here, I mean, this is configuration, not necessarily, coding. And I think that is a really powerful tool, because as we talk about accelerating the deployment and consumption of these types of solutions, I think that's a key critical element that are going to help people adopt these capabilities much more quickly. It's about, understanding your APIs, understanding your connectivity, and doing those sorts of configurations, rather than a situation where I've got to get someone who understands ABAP. I have to get that ABAPer to try and translate that to an end user and vice versa. I think this is really much more sort of, I don't want to say plug and play. I don't want to oversell it here, but it is more about configuration. And if you understand your business process and you understand the outcome that you're trying to drive to, I think this is going to create the ability to drive much more innovative processes and introduce AI into your business processes in a much simpler, easier, but more importantly, faster manner.
So can you show us how such a scenario would look like?
Absolutely. I'm one of those strong believers that a picture is worth 1,000 words. So an actual demo is probably worth millions there. So what I have here is a scenario where we have the Copilot. So we have a sales order Copilot here that is connected directly to an S4 system. And so the nice thing, so what you're going to see in this scenario, and I'll kick it off in just a moment, is a scenario where we have a customer, they haven't received a delivery yet. They are calling to try and figure out what's going on with their delivery. And now the sales rep has to figure out what's going on with the delivery, what is the status of it, and just as importantly, if the order hasn't shipped, why hasn't the order shipped, and what do we need to do about it? So if we get started here, let's see, are we playing here? Yeah, so we're getting started here where a sales rep gets a call from a customer and they want to know what is the status of the order. So I start off by just pulling up this Copilot within my teams, and I ask the Copilot, hey, can you give me information about an order for some customers? And the Copilot says, sure, what customer do you want? I give them the customer number. And what the Copilot is going to do is it's going to return all the orders for that customer, the products that the customer's ordered, but also the customer PO number. So here I can go through and I can understand what are the previous orders that I've had for this customer. And now I know, in talking to the customer, we want to dive into this order number 29756. And so now I'm asking the Copilot, tell me all the information that you have about this order. Now, what the Copilot is going to do is, number one, it's going to go out to the SAP system. It's going to pull up the sales order. It's going to pull up the document flow and tell me what is going on with that order in the system. Now, what it can't do is it can't tell me why the order is what it is. So simultaneously, it is going through all my emails, all my chats about that customer and their orders to understand what is going on. So here I can see, here's the sales order from the SAP system. I can see it's blocked. I can see they've ordered these 2 types of bikes. And I can see the requested delivery date from the customer. And I can see that, hey, those have not delivered yet. Now, in addition to that, I've got a bunch of emails and Teams messages about this order as well. And so the Copilot is going to bring those 2 pieces of information together to tell me, hey, not only what the status is of the order, but why it is what it is. And so here I can say, oh, there's an email here. It looks like there's a delay in the delivery of this material. It looks like we've had some storms, a hurricane in our distribution center that's led to some issues. So that therefore the order has been blocked for delivery due to damage to product. And so I can go through and I can understand not only that the order hasn't shipped, but I can understand why. Now, a lot of questions I get, hey, Robert, how can we trust what we're getting from AI? How do I know the data is accurate? How do I know it's not making something up? From here, it gives me a link directly back to my Outlook, so I can see the emails that directly that the AI utilized to provide that response. I can see that directly, and I provide a link directly to it. So this gives me the ability to trust the information that I'm receiving from the Copilot. And so once again, I can check. I can see the direct links to the emails. I can see direct links to the chats. And so now, okay, I've got an issue with the order. I can't deliver it. I can't get the product to them. So now I'm going to ask the Copilot, hey, is there perhaps another product that I could offer to the customer because I can see that this product is damaged? So here I go through and I say, hey, can you give me alternate products based upon this sales order? And now what the Copilot is going to do is it's going to go look at that product, go to the material master, find the information about that product and look through, are there alternative products that are potential acceptable switch to the damaged product? And so here I can see, hey, I've got this potential alternate product. It's gray rather than silver, but it's got the same dimensions, the same weight, all these sorts of things. So this is potentially an alternate product. Now, I say, okay, great. I want to do that, or I want to check on that. And I'm sorry, I went a little too fast there. So I want to check on the availability of that product. But you'll notice when I ask the Copilot, hey, can you check the availability here? What it's telling me is, because as I'm logging into the SAP system, it's using my personal authorization, or in this case, I believe it's Christie's authorization. Christie has asked for something out of the SAP system that she's not authorized to see. Because once again, when I connect with the Copilot, it's using the user, in this case, Christie's authorizations, and it's saying you've asked to do something that you're not allowed to do. And so the Copilot comes back with that information. So now, I can say, all right, so I'm not allowed to see this. Let me drop a message to my colleague who is authorized to do that. So let me hit my colleague in the shipping facility and say, hey, Nupur, can you check on the availability of this material for me? So Nupur receives this IM. Hey, can you check on the status of this material? Now Nupur, who has a different set of authorizations, now can connect, ask the SAP system about the stock information. And because Nupur does have that authorization, she can, because she has different authorizations in the SAP backend, she can actually see the status of the stock. In this case, she can see there are 59 units available. So now Christy says, okay, so we've got 59 available. So maybe what I want to do is now switch from the original material that was damaged to now utilizing this alternate product that the Copilot suggested, because I know that this customer is willing to to receive alternatives, so that they can continue to sell product to their customer, etc. So now from the Copilot itself, I'm giving the order number. I'm saying, hey, I want to swap out material A with material B. In this case, the M550 with, I think, the M500, and swapping out the full 20 quantities. And from here in the Copilot, it is now going back to the SAP system and changing that sales order to now have the new material number. And now I'm pinging my colleague in the shipping facility and saying, hey, I swapped out that product. Can you now unblock that order for delivery? So these are examples of how I can use Copilot to not just get information, but actually utilize the Copilot to understand what's going on, bring together structured and unstructured, but also use the Copilot to collaborate with my peers and the SAP system itself to resolve issues with customer orders and deliveries in a pretty pretty quick manner. Otherwise, right, if you tried to do this without this type of Copilot, you're on the phone, you're on IMs, you're shooting messages back and forth, and it's going to take you hours to do something, to get in touch with people in a way that we saw the Copilot was able to resolve for this user in 5 minutes. And this is the type of productivity that you can utilize to make people more effective, resolve issues more quickly. But the other piece is, if you're a new user, you've got to know, well, what's the right Fiori what's the right Fiori tile, what's the right SAP GUI transaction? Like you have to actually know where to go into the SAP system when an unexpected event occurs. And sometimes that's the biggest challenge, especially for a new employee. Whereas if I ask the Copilot already knows where to go to get those types of answers. So I think this is a secondary productivity boost, because if I'm just running the same transaction every day, maybe I know how to do that very efficiently. But if I'm struck by an unexpected event like a hurricane, right now I need to do a whole different process, and the Copilot helps me get to the right place to get the right answer in a way that I may not know how to do if this is an unexpected scenario for me.
I think this is a fantastic demo, and I really, really love it, because as you said, this simple demo shows so many really, really cool benefits that such an integration can leverage, and also shows what is actually possible. Because as you said, I mean, in the very beginning, we saw how structured data from SAP, the sales orders, could all of a sudden get an additional meaning by correlating this information with emails, with Teams chats and stuff like that. Then we saw the whole authentication issue. So this is not just a simple workaround or hack that we're doing here, but this is really leveraging the authorizations on the SAP side. So your SAP system is the single source of truth. And if you don't have permissions on the SAP system, well, you can be an administrator on Teams side. It doesn't matter. You only see what you're allowed to see on the SAP system. We're not bypassing anything. And then what I also liked is at the end, you showed that it's not only about reading information, like what's the status of a certain sales orders, but you can actually work with data in the SAP system. You can update, you can create information. And we saw this beautiful adaptive card where, again, instead of asking these questions all one by one, you got one adaptive card where you entered the sales orders, where you entered the materials that should be swapped, where you entered the quantity, and then you click on submit. And again, using single sign-on, all these transactions were executed in the SAP system, which also means from an auditing perspective, everything is traced under the user that actually performed these things. So I think this is a really, really beautiful scenario that was created here.
Yeah, no, I think it's pretty exciting. I think it shows you the possibility of what's available. To your point, bringing together the structured and unstructured, giving the user all the information they need to make decisions. I think that's the critical piece, because once again, most of these processes should happen automatically, right? They're just automated processes. But when something goes wrong and an exception occurs, now I need a bunch of information. I need to collaborate with my peers. I need to understand what's going on. And in those exceptional situations, I think this offers a lot of power to take a user who may not know all the ins and outs and everything all at once, and really make them a power user through the addition of AI. Now, one last thing I'll mention as a plug here, this scenario is all out and available for you to download and connect to your SAP system. So there's actually a blog out there that tells you how to do this and deploy this in your own scenario, in your own system, as well as all the assets, which I'll show you in just a moment. Some of the assets that we use to create this are all out on GitHub. So you can go download those and try this out in your own system. So you can actually see what this would look like against your system, your data. And just real briefly on how that works and what would be included there. So you have the Copilot Studio, which was once again the interaction, the dialogue back and forth. All we're doing, and if your question is how are we getting all this data out of the SAP system, we're just calling BOPIs on the SAP system. So we're getting the sales order status, the material list, the material details, all these sorts of things. That was kind of where we went out and selected what are alternative materials based upon the parameters of the given order. So all of these assets are out and available for you, and hopefully we can get that link into the into the video here, so that all of you can go out there, download this, and deploy this scenario. There's step-by-step instructions on how you deploy this scenario in your own environment.
I think and that's really, really nice to install and to test. And then if you don't like the BOPIs, if you want to use different BOPIs, then the code is all there, or the Power Automate flow is all there. So it's very easy to go in and to do adjustments. Potentially, you can replace the BOPI calls with OData calls. There's also an SAP OData connector available. So you could potentially switch this also. But I think it's great that everything that you need is actually available. So you can very easily get started. You can try it out. You can adjust it and see that this is real. This is not just a fake demo video or something like that. This is real. So you can easily do this also in your own environment.
One question, Robert. I guess this is an example of, okay, sales order, getting information, opting the orders. I guess for some other scenarios, some small adoption may be needed here, meaning on a Copilot Studio topic left. I mean, it's just drag and drop stuff. Okay, use these fields and enable that scenario, and the Copilot would also, through the connectors, knows or understand what our data are about, right? My assumption is here.
Yeah, exactly. And to your point as well, Holger, maybe this is a situation where, this one is focused on sales orders. Maybe it's purchase orders that are more relevant for you, and this is the use case. So in that case, we would want to switch out the sales order get status to the purchase order connectors into the SAP system. But I think the point is the profile, the use case, it's all configuration in Copilot Studio and Power Automate rather than you having to write a lot of code. And so as long as your internal team sort of knows, or your SI, if you're utilizing one of those, knows the APIs to call to hit your SAP system, this is a very easy configuration to tweak this scenario for something else that you may be interested in.
Cool. So this is now how you build your own Copilot. Maybe just to wrap it up, Robert. We saw SAP is delivering out-of-the-box content, but I think also on the Microsoft side, we have something where we develop out-of-the-box content. So not only these getting started or templates, but really, our functional Copilots.
Exactly right. So once again, if we talk about the various use cases, you have Microsoft Copilot with SAP Joule for those standard use cases. And there's a lot more development coming on that. So you'll see more about that in the coming months. You have the Copilot integration with the S4 public cloud, plus SuccessFactors and Concur and some others there. You have the custom Copilots, which we just saw, but also Microsoft is working on business specific Copilots as well, focused on certain business processes and functional business processes. Probably the one that may be most relevant to the SAP world is there's a Copilot specifically around finance. And so we take all those capabilities that you just saw a moment ago on the sales side, but now we're bringing in some finance specific functionality and capability, things around data reconciliations, forecasting, integrating that into Excel, because if I'm going to do reconciliations, right, and I need to deal with exceptions and figure those out, it integrates directly to Excel. But if I'm doing, say reconciliations and I see issues, I need to communicate to folks on that, it integrates with Outlook to send emails. So what we're really trying to do is, in addition to giving you customized scenarios, we're also trying to give you some kind of pre-built, trained, and capable business processes focused on specific business functions as well. Probably, once again, finance is the one that right now is most relevant for SAP. But we are looking to look at, hey, in addition to customers creating their own Copilots, are there some things for common business processes that Microsoft can assist customers with? And finance is kind of the first one that I think is most relevant for the SAP world. So hopefully, by looking through this, you've kind of gotten a little better understanding of how I can use Microsoft Copilot with SAP. And once again, the good and bad is we've got a lot of different options for you. but hopefully you can understand, okay, Robert, this is where I am today. So based upon where I am, maybe this Copilot makes more sense for me right now versus another one, or what have you. So you can kind of understand what are the different use cases, what is the right Copilot for the right use case, and you can really start looking at where should I get started for my organization today.
Perfect. Excellent. I think these were some great closing words. I mean, we are all about choice, and we have a lot of choice, but I think exactly with the overview that you provided, it's much easier to navigate and say, look, I am already an S/4HANA public cloud customer, so let's try and take a look at the out-of-the-box functionality, or I use Excel all the time, so maybe let's look at the Copilot for finance, or as what we've shown you mainly here, let's use the Copilot Studio to create your very own Copilot.
Exactly right. Exactly right.
Perfect. Well, Robert, thank you so much. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for your overview. I hope this is not the last time. Maybe we'll see you again in the future to give us an overview.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I would love to. And as this evolves, I would love to come back and show people the newest capabilities as they come to availability. So thank you very much for having me. This is great. I'm really excited to be a part of this, and I'm really excited to share these capabilities with everyone.
Great.
Cool.
Thank you so much.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
everyone.
Everyone. Yeah. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.